Hello, my dudes. It is I, Oscar Gonzalez, here to give you the Katana cards update for March 5th, 2024. So I'm going to be doing these in video because I really want to kind of talk about these changes with you as we read through the patch notes together. It's a really cool thing, like the current state of the game, and I want to let you in on exactly what's going on in my head so that we're working together and we're making the single-handed greatest freaking roguelike that world has ever seen, all right? And I wanted to just show you some of my design decision choices with this game. So, first of all, every design decision I've made thus far, since like working on it in 2021, has been to create a roguelike with 10,000 hours of playtime. That's it. That's our entire goal. If we can create more variants, more unique runs, more like each run feels different from the last, then we've succeeded. And let's go over the changes. The first change, it's a really huge change. We've completely reworked how mana works in the game. So previously, in like say the Spire, right? You would start out with 3 mana at the start of your turn, and then you would play like your attack cards, your armor cards, But now we're changing that. Instead, you're only going to get 1 guaranteed mana at the start of your turn instead of 3. But you start out with a deck. With your starting deck, you also have these cards that I like to call mana cards. And they look very similar to the to your attack and your armor cards, except when you play them, they restore 1 mana when you play them. That's what they do. They restore 1 mana, and it's a really big change. These mana cards can be upgraded throughout the game. So instead of outputting 1 mana, they output 2 mana, and that's the basis for these cards. I'm gonna sort of talk over why we're adding them. And you might notice that the lanterns look a little different. Well, these red lanterns mean that they cost mana to play. So costs 1 mana to put on some armor, costs 1 mana to deal some damage. But these lanterns have a different color. These white lanterns signify that they'll restore 1 mana. And the reason why we change the colors of the lanterns is when we fan out the cards in our hand, it's easy to immediately understand that, oh shit, this lantern is different. It doesn't cost 1 mana, it's going to give us 1 mana. So that's the idea behind that change. So this is a really big change. It changes the entire landscape. It's I can't undermine how big this changes. It's huge. It changes the entire foundation of the card game. I've had to rework all of the enemies. And it's in so many changes because this little thing trickles into everything else, It's and the main reason why we did this change is simply because so here's why. The first thing is that it introduces randomness. So when we're playing a roguelike, it's our job as players to fight, fight the randomness that we have within the game. And it's the game's job to have randomness for the players to solve, right? If we already are given the perfect build at the start of every fight, or every run, the game's going to get pretty damn boring, actually. Maybe it just becomes a different kind of game or something if you start out at, or maybe you just die in 1 hit or something. But starting out as strong as possible is, as fun as that sounds, it might make it a little repetitive if it doesn't have something else to match it, insta death or something like that. So having these mana cards does a couple of things. The first thing is just having this mana card in your hand means that another card could not exist in that spot. It kind of gums up your hand. It kind of messes it up. It prevents you from having a consistent-ish sort of hand per turn. And I really like this for a couple of reasons. The first thing is it makes fights that should be easier a lot harder because maybe you just get really unlucky and you just don't draw any mana cards at all, and you just become really, really mana starved. You know, you just don't have any mana, and you like panic a little bit, and you're like, oh, what do I do from here? You know, I like this feeling of having to improvise and be on the spot and kind of like go, shoot, without the perfect hand, how do I take on this fight? You know, like in the game there, you also have these bombs which you can use to like deal damage to enemies, but they're very, very valuable because you can also use them to like find hidden rooms. So in a scenario where you just don't have enough mana and you're just really, really tempted to use a bomb in your hand, or use one of your very valuable bombs, because you need that extra little bit of reach to close off that fight. It creates these little moments where you get a little panicked and you consider using, you know, your very valuable resources, and it creates more interesting runs that I've found than less interesting. Having also cards that gum up your hand also means that not every fight you're going to be able to block every enemy hit, and that's totally fine. I've actually reworked every enemy just to, you know, because, you know, it's now they actually well, first of all, they do less damage now to accommodate for the fact that you're going to get less consistency within your hand. But it also makes the game a lot more interesting because, dang, it really puts a lot more pressure to have more ideal hands and with a more random system. The other thing is, as the game progresses, your hand is naturally going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. You start out with 5, but after the first elite fight, you are now guaranteed to increase your maximum hand size by 1. And increasing your maximum hand size when a percentage of your deck is like mana makes it crazy good. You know, imagine having 20 cards in your hand and 8 of them are mana cards, and you're able to just mana use the other card. You know, it's really, really strong. Just because having things like card draw, you know, where you can keep drawing cards and you keep drawing mana and you also draw the things that help you win the game. It's interesting. I like this. I really, really like this. And I think you'll enjoy it. So, okay. Oh, I also wrote notes here. Probably should read them. Oh, I'll reset that. Makes harder decisions. Oh yeah. And this was a little closing thought about input and output randomness. Input randomness is like this fun word, you know? So in games, there's 2 types of randomness. There's randomness you can plan around, and there's randomness you cannot plan around. So and we call it input and output. So input randomness you can plan around. That's like we have a competition about making a delicious, delectable meal, but the ingredients are all random, right? So we have to like figure out, oh shoot, okay, I have eggs, I have parsley, I have cookie dough, what can I make with this, you know? There are random things that we have to like make a meal out of, and we have to like plan with these random elements and improvise our way into victory. And these are like the funnest parts about the like card games, in my opinion. It's not having the perfect hand, it's having to improvise yourself out of a spot and trying to make the best of what you have. And sure, I mean, obviously, like getting the perfect hand feels fucking awesome, but like having to improvise with a suboptimal hand feels like you MacGyvered yourself out of a situation. Oh, and also the other type of randomness is, it's randomness you cannot, it's after you make a decision, you get a result. So it's like you flip a coin, heads, tails, and then you have to call it. And you say heads, and it's like, okay. So after you make the decision, you reveal, and it's like, oh, I failed. It was tails. This kind of randomness is output randomness, and it has a place, you know? The majority of like this kind of like game design for these deck builders are mostly input randomness, where you're just constantly planning throughout you're planning throughout per combat, per turn. So in every turn, there's like a planning phase you have to plan around. There is a per combat where you have to like plan per the combat. And then there's like the per run where you have to like plan throughout the entire run. You know, it's like, oh, what is my overarching build, you know? So the next thing that we're introducing is called Insult That Hoe. You see the hoe? That hoe, she looking at you, you know, with them beady eyes. You know, you flip her ass off and you say, fuck your mom last time. Establish dominance. All right. So this is the next major change. After you fight 3 combats, the 4th combat, and combats would be like, every time you go into like an enemy room, I'm calling those combats from now on. So after 3 of these combats, the first enemy is going to look like this. You're only going to get normal difficulty or medium difficulty. But we flavor it like this because it's very fun to just say we're flipping them off, okay? So just go with me on this. And you can start making enemies harder. And when you do that, those mana cards that you have, well, you're going to be able to improve them. So now instead of outputting 1 mana, a single mana card could output 2 mana. And if you make the fight really hard, you can make that single mana card output, well, you can have 2 different mana cards output 2 mana. Just so, so you can start improving your mana, your mana package, you know? So this is another reason why I really like the this system, is because we can start upgrading them throughout like events, throughout like combats, and listen, having like a temporary like difficulty spike, in exchange for a permanent power upgrade, I feel like is a pretty good deal, you know? So that's a little trade-off that I'm doing. Whenever you hover over these options, you'll be able to like see how much damage and health the enemies are going to have and change. You're not going to see everything, but you're going to get you're going to get a feel for it. That's kind of the plan. And the reason we did this is because I once heard a person say, I want to play as risky as I want, you know? I'm very risky. I don't see why there's not enough ways for me to add more risk to my own run, you know? And that's the idea behind this, is sometimes you get the God build. You got like the stars aligned and everything is working out for you. When you have those builds, I want you to thrive, and I want you to start like upgrading, like make sure the enemies match how overpowered you are. And, well, I mean, you're going to get some permanent upgrades, and I feel like that's a pretty good trade-off for so, you know, it's so the better you do and the greedier we are, you'll be compensated very well for it. So I recommend it. Try it. Give it a shot and let me know what you think about it. The reason why it's not in the first couple of combats is because I really like how, like, as soon as you go into the first fights, it's very easy to just get into a fight, you know? And I don't know, it just feels really nice. And later on they become harder. So it's as though like they're all getting harder and you're choosing to make them harder too. And the third thing is mystery rooms. Mystery rooms have completely changed the way the game is built. So for those of you that weren't here, whenever you ventured in the dungeon or in the cyberpunk city of Neo Tokyo, which are represented by these sick ass fuck black squares, there would be these rooms that you could explode with a bomb, and we know it exploded because it has a star. And it would reveal any adjacent rooms that were connected to this one. So this room had a secret room that was connected with to this one. When you go into this room now, it's going to tell you that, oh, would you like to enter a mystery room? And here's what's going to happen when you do. So mystery rooms replaced every single non-combat encounter except for rest areas, chests, keys, and boss chests. Besides for those events, all other events have been removed from the game. And I'll show you what these mystery rooms do and what you can expect from them. So the first thing that's going to happen is if you find a mystery room in a secret, like, it required you to use a bomb to find this mystery room, you will immediately have a mana card be upgraded. The first time you find a mystery room, you'll just get immediate power, like your one mana card will be upgraded immediately. And this is just me on the side telling you, you know what? Fucking love that you're exploring. Here's a reward. Keep doing it, King. I want you to be exploring. There's a lot of goodies, and I'm incentivizing the heck out of you to do it, please. So when you enter these rooms, here's what's going to happen. You're going to be presented with 3 choices. This part of town looks unfamiliar. You recall being here once. What was here again? And you're like, oh, right. You remember there was a keyword shop here. Or maybe you don't even remember and you start a neutral event. Or maybe in this room, you recall that, oh, no, this is where the dark alley is. Oh, no. And there's a 50% chance of a good event and a 50% chance of a bad event. So here's what this is going to do. So the events that we took out can now be accessed here. You can now permanently make this tile a keyword shop by choosing the keyword shop option. And then it'll just be replaced with the keyword shop. And then bam, there you go. Now this tile is a keyword shop for the rest of the game. Or if it says veterinarian, it'll be replaced with a veterinarian shop and you'll be able to upgrade your pets. And that's what these are. You see one of these, the events they're basically shops, things that you can come back to and upgrade things with. And that's the first option, is it permanently alters this tile to a shop that you can come back to. The second option, it starts a neutral event. A neutral event cannot be exited the moment you enter. You must see through the entire neutral event, and you cannot leave. This is the same for good events and bad events. Any event is, you have to see the whole thing. And it's not optional. Like, if you choose it, you have to go through it. A neutral event is designed so that it won't screw you over it won't screw your build off too hard. They're generally pretty small, safe-ish events that are going to do some, either something good for the most part. These are all the events, the neutral events. All the events actually. So in a neutral event, you can find a roulette wheel, which you can spin. And the roulette wheel is going to have between 1 to 2 yen cost of upgrades. So it's a roulette wheel with a pretty safe amount of, pretty cheapish amount of keywords. They're not the best keywords, but, it's a immediate benefit that you didn't have to risk too much for. You could also give a card a keyword from a very cheapish amount of, so it's not like the best keywords, but, you're benefiting and it's free, You could also pay to upgrade an X amount of mana cards. So you pay 5 yen and maybe you upgrade 6 mana cards. I think 5 yen is 2 mana. But yeah, you pay an amount of money and then you're going to be able to upgrade a certain amount of mana cards. And the good and bad event though. So this event, I understand that most of us have a different amount of risk tolerance or risk aversion. Some of us fucking love these kind of, flipping a coin and be like, oh shit. Am I right? yes, I'm right. And then you like, it's like, oh, congratulations, you win the big prize. And you're like, yes, I risked it for the biscuit. So, and I also know a lot of us are also very scared of taking risks and are probably not really going to choose this option a whole lot, you know? When it comes to, some of us are very conservative with the amount of risk we have. We're like, no, I've been burned before, I don't want it. And for those people, whenever you enter one of these event rooms, there's also like a 10% chance that you're going to be forced to choose this option. All right? Because I understand myself. Sometimes I am a scaredy cat, and I am, I'll try to like meta game the crap out of this to always choose the optimal route, and maybe I'll avoid this one entirely. So for that version of me, I've like added this 10% thing where I have to choose this no matter what, you know? So good events are way better. They're the best kind of events in the game. They're the kind of shit that like absolutely makes your build incredible. And bad events can destroy your build. It's a make it or break it kind of event. And here's some of the things that can occur. So I'm using this so the roulette wheel utilizes the upgrades from the keyword shop. And you know how in the keyword shop there is a different price associated with different keywords. Like a really good keyword crits, like this card is always going to crit, land a critical hit. Like that would be very expensive. It's maybe it's a 5 yen or 10 yen upgrade. And it usually wouldn't be available to this in the neutral reel because it's a very expensive keyword. So it won't show up in the pool of upgrades, but it will show up for the good event. It'll show up from there's a lot of good items in the pool. And then after you make your decision, so here I'm gonna just say, okay, so this is a example of a bad event. It's a wheel of misfortune. You find a mysterious mysterious ghost who wants you to spin this wheel of misfortune. And what you can do in this bad event is you can choose to take the bad outcome, right? You spin the wheel of misfortune and you give a random card in your deck a bad keyword, something you don't want. Or you can attempt to resist and you can double or nothing, you know? So you already had one bad outcome. Do you want to try two bad outcomes? but if you get the good result, you're able to like avoid the bad event entirely. You know, that's not too bad, right? You know, you flip 2 coins. You know, what's the chance of getting tails a second time? You know, so that's the idea. Is in every single good and bad event, there's always going to be a double or nothing moment where you have the option in a good event, you know, like let's say you win $5 or something. In a good event, it would say, do you want to double or nothing? You go home with $10 instead? Or do you go home with nothing? Do you want to make that decision? Or do you want to take the safe $5? So that's the idea behind this, is like, you know, since you're already choosing this like 50-50. Want to try again? Want to try again? Come on. You know you wanna. And that's the idea behind it, is we're already choosing a 50-50. So why not risk it a second time? And for bad events, it usually means leaving the room. And for good events, it means doubling your winnings, you know? Unfortunately, she didn't make it. Now, she's going to have to spin the ultra bad wheel of misfortune, but now it's from a worse bad keyword pool. So, her build's getting fucked. Other things that we've done. The veterinarian shop. So previously, veterinarians felt like they sucked. They sucked balls. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm sorry. They were weak. The veterinarian was a very weak event, because it pulled from random pets instead of like the pets from your build. So now when you enter a veterinarian shop, it's one of the pets is guaranteed to be a pet that you own. So, there you go. It won't be random. It'll be something that you already have. And that's going to make it just so much more relevant than what we had previously. The map has changed in incredible amounts. The biggest thing about the map is that it's really good at creating shortcuts to the boss. And it's really good at creating a lot of mystery rooms, and just the map is really good right now. I just recommend you to try it. It has a good amount of exploration. Make sure you use the compass and the bomb. It's included in the tutorial now, so you can actually learn how to use those parts of the game. Okay, there's a lot of things that have changed, and one of the things, like what hasn't, So other things that have changed, your starting deck has changed. Now you're gonna get the card Assassinate to your hand it's in once per combat a card, because it moves to the exile on use. When you use this card, you deal 30 damage to an enemy, so 10 more damage than your default strike cards. But if it kills an enemy, you also get an additional yen. So, there we go. And it's just, I feel like it's very thematic. You assassinate someone, then you collect money. It also is kind of interesting because I noticed that when I had this card in my hand, like if you drafted this card early, it created more interesting decisions in the early game, because getting that little extra bit of value could mean the difference between, like buying the keyword that you want, the card that you want, getting the thing that you want versus not, It was a really, really high risk, high reward maneuver. This felt great, like honestly. But also, because you have less consistent hands, having the Assassinate card and being able to just use it, and there was the Assassinate card is quite an enigma, because it asks the player to hold on until they can kill an enemy with it, but that could mean risking taking damage later. So I just noticed this particular card made the game more interesting, knowing that it was in your deck. So because of that, it's now included in your deck now, in your starting hand. Another card that I added was Random Shank. So it deals 10 damage, a little bit less than your default strike cards, but it also has can also apply some random debuffs to an enemy, like giving them a bunch of poison, or making them so the next 2 hits are, like the enemies take more damage from from damage cards or something, or just make it so they can't get armor or something. It's pretty interesting. Honestly, this card has I don't know, it's kind of nice. It's just something else that added a little bit of random and variance. It's nice. And 2 other cards that I really, really liked. They are cards that get better as long as you're exploring. Exploring is really important. You get so many benefits already, but I want to make sure people are exploring, and this was a really fun idea. Having cards that incentivize exploration and tie that exploration to the combat. This card gets permanently stronger for each secret room that you find. A secret room is any room that is, it's like these dark kind of squares. Specifically, these dark squares that you find using bombs. You find those, bam, you'll be rewarded. And this one usually gives you 20 armor, but if you find a secret room before this combat, you get 30 armor also. So, and it tells you, if you did find it or you didn't find it, so you should be fine. Other things that have changed, the art has graphically been improved. Let's thank our Lord and Savior Chloe does so much great art. it looks great now. Like a lot there. It has just gotten a massive quality boost. You're gonna love it. The the salmon has been changed too, and a lot of things have been changed. I'm not gonna list all of them. These are just some of my favorites. This one is now going to give you 1 glass attack after playing a mana card. It used to be 2 glass attack after dealing damage, but now it's after playing a mana card. And that's just so that it has its own separate identity from the it was from like the red panda bear. And even though it gives you less class attack, playing the mana for it's going to feel just the same as previously. Like if anything, it feels pretty strong to get the glass attack before dealing damage now. So this card feels pretty nice now. So yeah, that's it. Try out the game. Try out Katana cards. Play it because I'm going to be collecting 2 types of data from each run session. I'm going to be collecting the damage that are done by different enemies. This is because we really need to figure out like how deadly these are. Like I've tried it and they feel pretty okay, but I need people to actually like play it and see and like tell me if they're feeling, like, oh shoot, like this one enemy is just killing players left and right. We need to nerf her ass. Or, like maybe just some enemies don't feel impactful enough. So I'm actually going to be collecting the amount of damage data that enemies do to players, and what cards we pick and what cards you don't pick, and trying to figure out like what cards suck ass and we need to improve, and what cards are too good and we need to nerf. But for that, we need a lot of people playing, and that's why I'm here to ask. Hey, you should go here to the Discord to Katana cards, and you should definitely like try it out. Thank you. I really need the help, and thanks for being with me. Hope you've been having a good day. Hope I talk to you later. Thank you.